Well, we talked a little about absentee voting this week, with several of you already requesting one or having already sent one in. One would think there'd be an uptick in how many absentee ballots are requested in Idaho with the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, and how it impacted in-person voting and all. But we did find out this week the state is seeing about the same number of requests, the rate of requests, as we've seen in previous election years. But we've also seen several questions concerning absentee ballots, like these from Phil in Boise. I've wondered for a while, if I were to have a ballot rejected because of signature mismatch, would I hear back? Or does it just get rejected and I'm not told? Also, is there a way to know what my official signature looks like? The one on my license was on a digital pad, and I think it is basically, well, illegible and not much like my real one. Thanks, says Phil. Well, yeah, it would be nice to know if your vote was discounted because of a discrepancy. Joe Paris checked in with the Secretary of State's office to get the answers.
Thousands of Idahoans are expected to vote through the mail via absentee voting for the November 2022 election. That process comes with practical questions about voter security and authentication. But as Phil asked the 208, if an absentee ballot is rejected for a bad signature, is the voter ever told? We checked in with Idaho election expert, Chief Deputy Secretary of State Chad Houck.
So under Idaho law, what you're typically talking about there, or what's described in the public, is curing that ballot. That's the term most often associated with what we're talking about here. And there is no requirement in Idaho law for county clerks to cure a ballot.
However, Houck says county clerks want to get the votes correct and counted.
They do everything they can in most cases to reach out to that individual and let them know. They may have contact information that it may be that the only contact information they have is mail. So they would be mailing them a letter saying there's been an issue with your signature. The fastest way to find out about that is to jump onto voteidaho.gov, check the status of your existing ballot. You'll see that it went from outstanding to rejected or outstanding to on hold. That lets you know that you need to get in touch with the clerk.
County clerks may have a phone number on file for you as well, so they may call you about the issue. The election season, though, some Idahoans might be voting absentee for the first time, prompting a question about what their signature is supposed to look like on the ballot, in terms of what the county has on record and how voters can make sure it matches up. Houck says the signature depends on how you registered to vote.
If you registered online with our online voter registration tools, then your signature was actually pulled from your DMV file, as long as there was a usable signature there with the DMV. So it would be the same as what's on your driver's license. If you filled out a voter registration card, then that signature is going to be what was on that actual registration card scanned in as a digital image.
Speaking of authentication, a popular question about the process involves who is doing the work. A computer, a person, something in between. Well, Houck says in Idaho, it's human beings.
We do put all of our county staff folks through a handwriting signature verification training program. They're taught to look for specific markers, specific indicators that give them a high level of confidence that the signature, while it may mature or degrade over time, was actually executed by the same individual as the record signature.
Some counties, like Ada County, do use digital scanning just to make sure there's actually a signature on the ballot before authentication. Houck says this is a great reminder. You need to have a signature on your absentee ballot for it to count.
I think the biggest thing to remember when we're talking about absentee isn't about the number of signatures rejected. It isn't about the exact matching or the accuracy of the signature. More often than not, reasons for rejection, the biggest reason for rejection is simply forgetting to sign the envelope altogether.
Another major reminder, make sure your ballot ends up in your envelope back to the clerk's office.
You're seeing the absentee ballot for the husband coming back in the wife's envelope or vice versa. And those have to line up. The signature on the envelope has to match the registered voter's name on the envelope, because that's the account they're looking for. If that doesn't line up, they're not going to look for, well, what's the spouse? So this looks like a spouse's signature. Did the spouse have an absentee ballot as well?
So what if you have a not so great signature on your license, like a smiley face or a scribble? It does happen. Well, the hope is that it's not the case, but you could get a call from the clerk's office if they have any doubt or questions about your signature. If that is you, though, and you think your signature is a problem, you can always re-register to vote on paper, the registration card. You can update your signature that way, as we talked about, but you can also find out if your absentee ballot has had an issue before Election Day. If they let you know, or if for some reason you think it didn't make it, you can check in with your county clerk's office. And let's say, for example, they do give you a call, or they do let you know there's an issue with your signature. You can still go in on Election Day. You can go in, you can talk to the clerk, and they will spoil your absentee ballot, meaning it never counted, it was never processed. And because they'll disqualify that ballot, they would still allow you to vote at the polls. So if for some reason your signature is rejected, or there's a problem with your absentee ballot, maybe in the rare case that it doesn't make it, you're not disqualified from voting. The only thing you would be disqualified from is if your absentee ballot went through, it was processed correctly, and then you showed up appearing to vote twice. So that would be an issue, but it's very rare.
You know what this tells me? It tells me that there's a pretty good verification process in place already when it comes to elections in Idaho, that they're not just going to accept anything that comes, even if it's in the wrong envelope, you just messed it up with your wives. I mean, there's a lot there that they check and double check to make sure it is legit.
Yeah, they keep such a close eye on it. And from time to time, they do catch instances of voter fraud. There was actually a sentencing out of Ada County as recently today. So it does happen. It's not one of these things where it's never happened ever. It does happen, but it's a very small amount of occurrences.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe.
Yeah.